history just got made, guys. $81.6 million opening weekend. And I'm recording this on the Sunday, so I'm just giving you rough numbers. But that's roughly the number, 81.6 million, which is history making in two ways. First of all, it's the biggest opening weekend A24's ever had as a production company, but also the director, Kane Parsons, 20 years old, youngest director to ever have a #1 opening box office weekend. So stunning. And why is that? Because the movie was good? No, it was because we love the Backrooms already. We're preloaded, man. We've been watching Backrooms videos forever. If you look in the description, I'll show you my previous video about all the different kinds of Backrooms videos you can see for free on YouTube right now. And I'll include the playlist that just, it's monstrous. It's hours and hours of viewing. And so we knew we wanted to see a Backrooms movie, and Kane Parsons legit made some of the best Backrooms shorts that there are. I mean, unquestionably, I don't think anyone could ever doubt that Kane Parsons made some of the best content along these lines. So of course, give him a big budget and let's just see what he cranks out. We're all in. We're in. And while the results, divisive is the word. Now, I'm so glad that I run a channel where I'm focused on should you watch it, because some of you are going to think this is the greatest thing you've ever seen. And some of you are going to hate this freaking movie. You're going to hate it. And it's the same movie, and you're both right. You're both right. You're both right. I walked out of the movie not sure how to feel. And I had to process it. I saw it yesterday, and I didn't dare sit down in front of the mic until I'd chewed it over a little bit. Because here's the thing. It's really two movies. You have like one thread going up until about the midpoint, and then a completely different thread afterwards. The shift in tone isn't too obvious, except that the camera's following one person and then it follows another. But the story changes. The way we approach Backrooms changes. And it's a big deal, because it's like From Dusk Till Dawn. I remember when I first saw that, I didn't like it because I didn't know how to process it. It starts off gritty drama, gritty, like mean, cruel story of two very dangerous men. And then they get to their destination. They're not a threat anymore. And everything is funny. And it's a big splatterfest vampire movie. So like scary, 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 ridiculous, ridiculous. And yet it kind of worked, right? Like From Dusk Till Dawn was kind of awesome. Does it work as well for the Backrooms? We'll get into it. But, we're going to be as light on the spoilers as possible. I'm going to cover the rough edges of what happens. If you watch the trailer, you kind of are going to already be familiar with everything I've said. But I'm also going to sort of reflect how much the original lore, if you want to call it that, or the popular take on the Backrooms is not just reflected here, but also completely turned on its head. Because here's the thing. This Backrooms in this movie starts off very much like as we've seen it. And then it's Silent Hill. But before we get into it, hi, my name's CJ. I am your movie god for the Found Footage broadcast. And if you've subscribed, you're already a member of the cult of the movie god. So welcome, my fellow Found Footage fanatics. Hit the button below, you know the one. And roll the intro. Here we go. Oh, at long last, Backrooms 2026. Backrooms 2026. Boy, have I been waiting for this one. I mean, ever since I saw Kane's first short back in 2019, I'm like, oh, this would make an incredible movie. And here we are. And legit, huge chunks of it are incredible. I mean, huge chunks of it. Best thing I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. And then the huge chunks of it are not. So before I get into that, let me give you the official IMDb description of the movie. Smooth. After a therapist's patient disappears into a dimension beyond reality, she must venture into the unknown to save him. So I gotta confess right away to being a complete fanboy. The async logo comes up right after the opening credits, and I just was like, oh, I wanted to clap, and I restrained myself. Okay, I maintained just a shred of my dignity. But there it was. And then, things roll along. And then Mark Duplass shows up as a secondary character. And I'm like, calm down. Just focus on the movie. So I'm like already fanboying, right? And that's going to color my opinion. But here's the thing. Like, that first half of the movie was unquestionably some of the best shit ever. So, okay, let's get into it. We start off with a depressed furniture store owner who is seeking therapy because he has a lot of mixed feelings about how things went with his ex-wife. He's pretty angry about the fact that she kicked him out, and he feels like it's not his fault. It's also not his fault that he's an architect. Oh, sorry, he's not an architect, even though if you say he's not an architect, he'll get very mad. But no, he's a furniture store owner. He doesn't do any architecture work. And he's mad that the business isn't doing better. Okay, so he's got issues. Whatever. But you know what? Perfect acting, amazing performance by both him and the therapist. You're in this thing with both of them. And through the story, we get a little bit of glimpses into the therapist's past. So this is the funny, weird irony of the thing. Even though what we see going forward has everything to do with depressed furniture owner, the flashbacks all have to do with the therapist. And that plays out later. So, the therapist's issues have to do with her mom being crazy. And so obviously she's working hard at fixing people because she grew up in a terrible, horrible childhood with a mother that couldn't be fixed. So that's her issues. So 2 characters with issues, 2 characters with problems and coping mechanisms. One depressed boy is saying, not my fault. That's his coping mechanism. And her coping mechanism is just trying to fix people in order to fix her past, This very much reminded me over the course of the whole movie of The Nutshell Technique by Jill Chamberlain. I have absolutely zero doubt that a writer behind this movie had her book open and they were like, so if it's going to be a tragedy for them and a Aristotelian comedy for them, they need to make this kind of decision. It was all very strategic. What does that have to do with the Backrooms? Nothing at all. So I'm pretty far into this video. I haven't talked about the Backrooms yet. That's annoying, but let's get into it. So one day, he's a furniture store owner who's living in his furniture store, has had electrical problems, and it's all very spooky. He's got some random breakers that are just slapped in there at an angle in his breaker box, and the power's going all wonky. So he's down in his basement trying to figure it out and discovers one of the walls can be walked through, and there's a big pile of furniture on the other side that all resembles the furniture that's in his furniture store. And he starts exploring the back rooms. And it is pretty goddamn cool. The only thing is the set designers couldn't help themselves on so many levels. There were so few open, empty spaces. They would sometimes pan through. And in an opening found footage segment, we do get a lot of empty halls and empty corridors and empty rooms. And it's all very much classic backroom stuff. But when depressed furniture store owner gets in there are no empty spaces, almost. But there's random chair here, armoire there. It's all kind of reflecting his space. They even have signs that are all messed up. It's all approximations of his space back in the store, though. It's not actually true representations. But man, there's even these strips of paneling along empty rooms, as if the set designers just couldn't stand a blank wall. And they were like, please just let us just put a line so to give it a little personality, a little character. They didn't want blankness. They just couldn't stand it. And Kane Parsons probably just went, okay, fine. You can put a line on the wall, whatever. So anyway, design stuff. But you really do get the sense that, this is a great place of infinite horror and possibility. And right away, you get the monster that you don't quite see. And the monster is clearly destructive and clearly dangerous. And you get a little chase scene, even though you don't get quite eyeballs on it. And it's all thrilling. So, of course, Mr. Depressio runs over to his therapist and says, oh my God, I found the Backrooms. And she's like, you're full of crap. And he's like, I gotta find proof. So he gets his employees to grab a camera. We get more found footage of him going down to investigate a specific ramp down into a dark room. And this segment where they go down into the ramp and it's dark and there's all kinds of trash down there. We get our thrilling action scene of the movie, and it is amazing. It's astounding. We get gore, we get blood, we get death. It is so goddamn good. And it ends at a point where you think, okay, they probably all died, I guess. You know, like there's ways to interpret it. But then the therapist gets a message on her answering machine after dealing with her own depression for a while. And it's kind of a scratchy voice of Mr. Depressio saying he's opened the window and he's never coming back. Something along those lines. Open the window is a trigger for her because she has all these memories of never being able to open a window in her own home when she was a child. So she doesn't just sort of shrug off the fact that a client's not showing up anymore. She has to check it out. So here's where our second half of the movie starts. She goes to the store. She discovers the opening to the Backrooms. And in fairly short order, she ends up in a conflict. Now, here's where I'm going to pause for a moment and say I am dangerously close to giving spoilers here, and I am not going to. But I will say one thing that happens that doesn't make any sense. We have a character suddenly be completely insane for no reason. Like there's no build up to it. There are no scenes where they're struggling and making sacrifices or being selfish and gradually allowing their insanity to grow. None of that happens. No, just all of a sudden now, nutcase. Okay, I guess. Oh, but before we get into the chase scenes, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. The crazy person gives exposition and explains the Backrooms. Apparently the Backrooms is now Silent Hill. Anything that's inside of you gets reflected in this space, but distorted, like a copy of a copy of a copy or something along those lines. And so it's not good, it's not bad, it's just you confront what you bring with you. Well, it's a pretty different take than what we've been dealing with so far. It's not just so far in all the shorts, but so far in the movie. You know, like up to this point, it just felt like this strangely arbitrary space. But now it's a space that reflects you personally. And okay, is that still Backrooms? I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Anyway, so this part stops making any sense and we start seeing our monster. Our monster becomes fully lit. You see every detail of this monster. Never, ever, ever a good idea. You fully light a monster and you know what you got? You just got another animal that you're familiar with. You got a guy in a suit. You got like, it no longer matters. And the more you see that monster, the less threatening it becomes. Like Alien, man. Alien. Greatest monster design ever made was in Alien. But as soon as you light it and put it on the outside of a ship and you can see the guy who's clearly in a suit with a bunch of stuff hanging off him, and that's fine. Like, you know, and that's like greatest design ever. Never light your monster the whole way. Well, no, I don't care about the monster anymore. Now that's just an animal that they're running away from. So we got our chase scene. Then it ends and Async Corporation captures our remaining character, and our remaining character stops indulging in this conversation that Mark Duplass is trying to have with them for no clear reason. It's really confusing why they won't just talk like a regular person. They do talk a little bit, and they're having an internal dialogue, right? They're working through all their issues and whatever, but they're just kind of being a dick. And it becomes clear, oh yeah, you know, the corporation might not let them go, whatever, who cares? And then they smile at the end, and what's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Make up your own mind. It's enigmatic. Here's the thing about enigmatic endings. They have to imply that there is an answer. In this time, this didn't imply shit. I didn't buy it. So let's break into the main question, the big question, the only question that matters. Should you watch it? Because here's the thing. If the last thing you see in a movie spells out how the movie was to you, if that last thing you saw is your impression of the movie, you will not like this. This movie is dull at the end. It just is. Like, even the thrilling chase scene, you can see that, like, you know, the worst part I think with that chase scene was like you see a whole bunch of couches and you're like, oh, They are definitely hurting their leg when they go over those couches. And yep, there they go. They hurt their leg. And now we get the stakes have increased because now they've got to flee with a hurt leg. And okay, guys, like just okay. So I think I'm diving into the people who shouldn't watch it first. Yeah, if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff that I've just talked about, don't see it because you will be frustrated. You will be disappointed. And let's face it, man, they changed the premise of the Backrooms. It is no longer an enigma. It is a thing that they've spelled out. It's Silent Hill light. That's what it is. Like Silent Hill without an express evil thing. It's just whatever you brought with you. Okay, so now it's a thing. Now it's a thing that we understand. That's less good. Oh well. Having said that, fact is, in retrospect, I really loved that first half. That first half was so spectacular, so incredible. Like the scope and scale was sort of there. I mean, you don't really get the sense of like never-ending hallways, but whatever. The point is that it was good enough that you're like, oh my God, we're really in the Backrooms, like for realsies, with fantastic actors and like wall to wall. Everyone was flawless. And yeah, one of the greatest action horror scenes I've ever seen. Like that scene at the shoot and everything, just perfect. It was perfect. And it will stay with you. So if you're a hardcore Backrooms fan and you're just willing to be forgiving when things go in a direction that you weren't expecting, and you're willing to be patient about character arcs playing themselves out, then okay. I mean, see it. Fact is, I don't regret seeing it one little bit, even though I have my problems with it. In the balance, I think this is one of the best Backrooms things I've ever seen. I really do wish the movie stopped halfway through. I would have taken a 45-minute movie. That's fine. Like, whatever. But considering the box office numbers, there's zero question that they're going to make a sequel, and likely Kane Parsons is going to be involved. You get to see, also too, if you're a Portal fan, Kane Parsons is a Portal fan. And you get to see Portal stuff in here. Not an actual Portal gun, but you're going to be like, Ratman, and you're going to be like, oh, those panels over there, and and like nice little kind of fan servicey things. This was like, if you like fan service, this was the best. And I usually hate fan service. I'm usually triggered by it, but this was good shit. So that's the Backrooms. Next up, I think what I'm going to do is go low budget, but I'm going to go with something really friggin' good that you've never heard of before. Stickman's Hollow. The Stickman's Hollow, I think it's called. But in general, the Found Footage broadcast does new releases, classics, and hidden gems. So next week is going to be a hidden gem. But if there's a movie that you think I should cover, you got to tell me, man. Leave a comment, because what you say gets priority. So leave a comment with your favorite found footage movie. Yeah, Backrooms was only like 30% found footage, but we're going to forgive it because of its pedigree. It's found footage pedigree. But in general, try to keep it purely found footage in the future. And that about covers it. My fellow found footage fanatics, thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Na 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 boom. I gotta shorten that though.